So back then we had pagers. There's no such thing as cell phones and stuff like that. Now I think every police officer has a cell phone that's assigned to them. But back then, you had to go out and buy your own beeper, and then you were called kind of like a buff if you carried it because you cared too much, But so I had this one particular complainant that he cooperated in an extortion case. So this has got to be, I think, 92. This a few years before I made sergeant, and we ended up. He owned a small like Fukinese restaurant on Orchard Street, and he was paying extortion money every month. And again, the restaurants are not making a lot of money. They're working 12, 16 hours just to bring enough in to send some money back and stuff like that, support the family. So there were several partners in this particular location, but only one guy wanted to call the police. He was just tired of it. He struggled so hard, worked so many hours, and then these guys would come in and they just force him to pay. So finally, after a long time, he decided he wasn't going to pay anymore. We ended up making several arrests. He was very happy about it, and I gave him my beeper number. The problem was he spoke Mandarin, Fukinese, and also Mandarin. I speak Cantonese. I had a partner that spoke Mandarin, but he would beat me all the time. And at free time I would go there, and he would beat me with a 7 because that was the location was that restaurant, 7 Eldridge. So then I would tell him, hey, I'm a little busy too. I'm running around. So if it's not really important, just beat me 7. If it's important, beat me 7-911. I'll come right away, no matter what. So I had done a day tour. I think I went to court. Normally I do night shifts. That's where most of the activity took place. And I got a 7 on my pager. So I look at it, it beeps in one time. I figure, I'll drop by tomorrow when I go into work. So I come in the next day and the squad, the detectives tell me, hey Mike, we had a homicide last night, and he showed me a picture. There's my guy. He beat me 7. So that was hard, And it's still unsolved. Yeah, the thing was that he owed money, but people don't usually kill you when you owe money. You can't pay back. Yeah. So, and then I was still just a police officer, So, you know how it was. You were a detective. It goes to the detective squad. They have the case, and basically all you can do. Hey, I'm going to try to come up with information. And I really couldn't get any information. I was in gang intel, and we weren't getting that information in.
Did the detectives share any information with you?
No, the detectives were good, but there was nothing there. All they had was a homicide, and the only thing they came up.
No leads.
Yeah, no leads, no witnesses. Back then, it wasn't cameras on every block. Now there's you walk out the street, there's a camera that took a photo.
No witness.
But, no witness. No. And of course, when I go to the restaurant, he was the only guy that wanted to cooperate in the beginning. And now all the other partners, they want nothing to do with me. And to tell you the truth, I can't blame them. So there are some things that stay in your mind forever that you'll never forget. That's just one of them. And it makes you work that much harder. I think sometimes it's a motivation. I had another one where she was a complainant, and next thing you know, 6 months later, she jumped out of the building, Confucius Plaza. I don't know, remember. That's unsolved too. I think they ruled it a suicide, but it's just hard because you don't know, because they're your complainant.
They can easily rule it a suicide if they want to.
I mean, too, there's real police out there, and there's some guys. I always look at it this way: there's that type of police officer where if something happened to your family member, you want him to have your case, and there's that police officer where if you fucking committed a murder, you want him to have your case.
It all depends on which detective is handling the case.
Right.
Just
which detective? Yes.
Just like Neil Moriello. I interviewed Neil Moriello. He's a detective for many years, with all that experience. And even he said, there's only 2 people who care, right? It's your mom and the detective who has your case.
Right. And sometimes that detective that has a case don't care either.
And if he doesn't care,
he shot 3 times in the back, suicide.
He'll be collecting dust, that case.
Right. And they once they have it in their mind that they don't that it's not a crime, then they look for everything that fits that pattern, you know.
Yeah.
So it's very easy to do. So I just hope for anybody that's aspiring to be a police officer, don't be an empty blue suit, you know, try to make a difference, you know.
It's like being a doctor, you know.
Right.
You don't become a doctor for the wrong reasons.
Yeah, you're not going to be rich, you're not going to be,
Exactly.
you know, and if you want to be rich, but like I have a friend that he was actually, he scored like the highest in every promotional exam.
Uh-huh.
So by the time I think he was less than 40, he was like already a full inspector. And he got like a great offer on the outside, and he left, but he came back 6 months later because he said, like he made a lot of money, but it didn't feel the same. He wasn't making a difference. So he actually came back, but then they only stayed a little bit, and then he went back out again. So you have to balance it out.
Yeah.
You know, it's life.
Yeah, I guess being a police officer at times it can be rewarding experience. Like makes you.
No, I'm very glad I did it. I'm, you know, like I said, I knew I was going to be one since I was 12. I'm glad I went through the whole thing. It's a dream come true. You know, I would have done it for half the money. And then I'm glad, you know, and there's life afterwards too, because you know, like all you guys.
You would have done it for half the money. I mean, there's guys out there doing auxiliaries, doing it for free.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because before I was old enough, I joined the auxiliary because I thought you could make a difference. You know, I guess you really can't, you know, but you had to be 21. So from 17 to I was called in, I actually was an auxiliary. But, you know.
I remember when I came on the job back in '95, and when I graduated, I was a rookie cop, and I was assigned to do CPOP, and it was 10 to 6. You know, it was different times back then. I had so much fun, just walking the beat, you know, doing my own thing, and a lot of times, 6 o'clock comes around, I'm still out there talking to the stone. It's like I lose track of time because I'm having fun. Back then, the job was actually fun. Right?
Yes.
So when I come back into the station house, I'm changing the locker room, and like, you know, guys are looking at me like, oh, like I would mess around with them, like, oh, you know what, I lost track of time, you know, having a lot of fun out there, you know, doing it, and they look at me like I'm crazy.
I know. Yeah.
They look at me like I'm crazy. Oh, they can't pay me enough to do this and all that. So they complain because back then, '95, Giuliani gave us 0-0 on our contract. We didn't get a raise, and they're like
zeros for heroes. I think it was called.
And I, you know, I was messing around with them. I said, you know, I would do this job for free. I told them I was an auxiliary police officer.
Were you too?
Also. No, I wasn't.
I actually was
messing around with them. And then I remember one cop came up to me, and you know, a white guy, you know, maybe like a year or two more than me, and he walked up to me and said, "You know what this shield stands for?" And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "White trash."
No. See, I never believed that. You know,
I guess there's some people who are bitter and disgruntled. You know, it's like
I just feel that
no matter what, the job's not going to make them happy.
I don't know. Yeah, but those were the
for
same.
Me, I have fun. Out
there. I think you have fun and you actually make a difference. If you want to make the difference, you can also.
It's what you make out of it.
Yeah, sit in your car for 8.5 hours, not doing anything except answer a radio run. That's the kind of cop you want to be. But again, then again.
But don't forget, the morale was so low in '95, 96, when we got the zero on our contract. So
yeah, I see it both ways. But let me see, '95. I think I was in. In '94 I got promoted sergeant. They sent me to Harlem, and then I came back. There was a rapist. I don't know if you guys remember Chinatown rapist.
Oh yeah,
he was raping all these little girls, and then they formed a task force, and I went on that.
I remember that. A friend of mine, Detective Wong, had that case. Right? They did a sketch of the guy. They didn't know who the guy was, right?
It was unsolved. And it's funny, like you bring in all these people. We brought in all these, like I never knew there were so many Asian, sexual crime type people. But we brought in, but never solved that particular case.
Did they do a sketch of that?
There was a sketch, but there was no arrest. We brought in a lot of arrests, but not that guy. Not that they could pin on those particular crimes.
Yeah. That was sad.
Yeah. You know, there was a rumor because there was a couple of bodies, actually one body found upstate, and there was a rumor that the gangs actually took care of it. They killed the guy that was actually raping the little girl, but no one was officially charged with it. It was disbanded, I think, 6 to 9 months later. A lot of guys were brought in, but not for those particular crimes.
Hey, some of these cases are solved decades later. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe one day it'll be solved.
And it's possible that...
Look at the Pagoda Theater shooting. It's solved over 20 years later. It was solved.
Yes.
I remember I was in uniform reading the newspaper. I'm like, wait a minute, I was inside that movie theater when the shooting happened.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, you weren't the shooter? No. It was a dangerous time to go to movie theaters back then too.
Yeah, very dangerous.
Yeah.
Anything can happen.
Right.
Pool hall, bowling alley, movie theaters.